So the MLB trade deadline is just 9 days away, and based on the rumors, it sounds like it's going to be a crazy one. There are plenty of teams still within striking distance, and there should be a ton of buyers. But today, I'm going to tell you one big trade for each of the current playoff teams in Major League Baseball. What's up, you guys? I'm Tony Metro. Welcome to the channel. I make videos all about Major League Baseball, including trade predictions and so much more. If you're new, be sure to subscribe and also turn on channel notifications so you know when I post a new video. So let's take a look at the current playoff picture right now. If the season ended today in the National League East, we'd have my New York Mets taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, who would win the National League Central. Out west, the Los Angeles Dodgers are holding a wild card spot over their division rival, the San Diego Padres, who have the second wild card spot. And then the biggest surprise of the year, the San Francisco Giants would win the National League West if the season ended today. The Mets came into this season with a ton of hope for their starting rotation, and they've lived up to the expectations. But here's the thing, they've also had a ton of injuries. You could fill a book with the amount of injuries this team has had, specifically in the starting rotation lately. The Mets could also use some help at third base. So far, Jonathan Villar has been playing really well. He even just hit a home run in yesterday's game against the Cincinnati Reds. But overall, they could use a more steady presence there. Maybe there's a way that we can kill two birds with one stone, and here's how I would do it. The Mets should look into making a trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks for starting pitcher Merrill Kelly and third baseman Eduardo Escobar. Merrill Kelly's not having the best season this year, but last year in 2020 in the shortened season, he made 5 starts and had a 1.79 ERA plus. So far this year, Kelly has an ERA that's over 4.40 in 20 starts, but his fielding independent pitching suggests he may be getting a little unlucky or dealing with the park factors out in Arizona. It's 3.89. That being said, if the Mets could find a way to bring him in, he'd be a solid fourth starter to put in the rotation until Noah Syndergaard and Carlos Carrasco get back healthy. Eduardo Escobar was nearly traded to the Chicago White Sox earlier in the season, but he ended up staying with the D-backs and since then has just continued to rake. He has clubbed 22 home runs on the year with 65 RBIs and an OPS just a touch below 800. He'd be a big addition and stabilize the third base position for the Mets without them having to break the bank on a guy like Kris Bryant. The Milwaukee Brewers are 16 games over 500 and running away with the National League Central, coming off a sweep of the Cincinnati Reds. But the one place they're lacking some pop is at first base. They rank 25th in OPS in the major leagues at the position. That's why I think that the Brewers should take a look at the Orioles and try to acquire Trey Mancini. Mancini in his first year back is having a solid season for the Orioles. He has 16 home runs and a 115 OPS plus and would be a welcomed addition to the Brewers lineup. They tried to shoehorn Keaston Hiura over at first base. It just hasn't worked out. He's hitting just 178 this year. They've also tried Daniel Vogelbach as well as newly acquired Rowdy Tellez, and unfortunately they just can't find a solution at the position. That's where I think Trey Mancini would be a big boost to them. Mancini has DH for the Orioles quite a bit this year, but he's played 58 games at first base, and while he's not a defensive liability, he's definitely not a Gold Glover. Still, I think bringing that pop into the Brewers lineup would make their lineup more well-rounded. The Dodgers, like the Mets, had an embarrassment of riches in their starting rotation, but after injuries to Clayton Kershaw and Dustin May and the whole Trevor Bauer saga, the Dodgers are surely going to be looking to add to their starting rotation before postseason play. In fact, in my 5 bold trade predictions video, I actually predicted the Dodgers would acquire Max Scherzer from the Washington Nationals, but today I want to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go a different route. I think the Dodgers should look to acquire Kyle Gibson from the Texas Rangers. Before his previous start where he got blasted by the Tigers for 7 runs, he had an ERA below 2.5. And while his metrics aren't great, he is in the 93rd percentile for missed barrel rates. Gibson will have plenty of suitors. In fact, it seems that every playoff team has had some type of interest in him. But the Dodgers have one of the best farm systems in all of baseball. They should be able to outbid any other team if they truly want him to slot behind Walker Buehler in a potential playoff rotation. San Diego Padres GM AJ Preller is one of the most aggressive executives in all of baseball, sometimes to a fault, but you can be sure that the Padres will have their fingerprints all over this trade deadline. It's just really hard to imagine that it's for starting pitching. In the last 12 months, the Padres have acquired Mike Clevinger, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove. But Clevinger's been out this whole season with Tommy John surgery, and Blake Snell has not been living up to his previous standards. The team is also missing Dinelson Lamet, Adrian Rehan, and Ryan Weathers, so they need to add some more starting pitching for the stretch run. And they also would like to improve in right field. Will Myers just hasn't been cutting it for them. So how's this for a big move? the Padres should go out and try to acquire Wade Miley and Nick Castellanos from the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds were 6 games over 500, but after getting swept by the Brewers and losing 2 out of 3 to the Mets this week, I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline, and Nick Castellanos would garner more than almost any other name on the trade market. Castellanos is having a ridiculous season, a 329 average, 965 OPS, and 18 home runs. He just got hit on the wrist and was injured for the last few days, but when he gets back healthy, there's no doubt he would be able to put the final touches on this already great Padres lineup. And Wade Miley is having a career season this year. In 17 starts, he has a 2.72 ERA, a 174 ERA plus, and if the Reds decide to sell, he'll be as good of a starting pitching option for any team looking to add to their rotation. And lastly, the San Francisco Giants, leading the National League West, have had some recent injuries to their infield, including Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, and Brandon Crawford. So this one's a pretty simple fix. They should go out and acquire Adam Frazier from the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Giants currently rank 26 in OPS at the second base position on the year, and Frazier could immediately fix that. He has an 844 OPS on the year to go with his 329 batting average. Now, there's going to be a lot of suitors for Frazier. Just like Gibson, it sounds like every playoff team is interested in him, but if the Giants are willing to pay up, he'd be a huge boost to that beleaguered lineup. Let's move on to the American League playoff bracket. Coming out of the American League East, you have the Boston Red Sox taking on the AL West champion Houston Astros. Then, with the best record in baseball, the American League Central champion Chicago White Sox will take on the winner of the AL wildcard game between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Oakland Athletics. Let's start with the Boston Red Sox. They are in dire need of some help at first base. They have the 3rd lowest OPS at the position for this year. In fact, in my previous video, 5 bold trade predictions, I believe that Anthony Rizzo would be a perfect fit for the Red Sox. But today, I want to give you something different. So how about Jesus Aguilar from the Miami Marlins? Aguilar is having a big season for the Fish. He's hitting .272 with 17 home runs. He leads the National League with 68 RBIs, and he would be a big upgrade over Bobby Dalbec and the other platoon position players that have been filling in at first base for the Red Sox. Aguilar is probably just a league average defender at first base, but he will be less expensive in a trade than Anthony Rizzo and probably a bigger upgrade than CJ Cron, who has some nasty home and road splits away from Coors Field. The Houston Astros lead the American League West with the Oakland Athletics right on their tail, so surely they'll want to upgrade, and one position in particular is center field. After George Springer departed this offseason, they gave the job to Miles Straw, but he's just not cutting it. He doesn't hit for enough power, just 2 home runs in 346 plate appearances. So the Astros should also give a call to the Miami Marlins and try to pry Starling Marte away from them. Marte is going to be a hot commodity at this year's trade deadline. We've already heard the Yankees, the Phillies, the Giants, and basically every other postseason team is interested in acquiring him, and there's good reason why. He's hitting .294 on the year with an 843 OPS and still has blazing speed even at his age. He's stolen 20 out of 23 bases on the season. And in addition, he plays Gold Glove defense in center field, but can pretty much play any of the 3 outfield positions and would be a perfect way to complete this Houston Astros lineup. The Chicago White Sox are going to be involved in a lot of trade rumors. We've already heard them connected to Joey Gallo, but honestly, I think this team is pretty damn good already. They're going to get the return of Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez very soon to make that lineup even more dangerous, and their starting rotation has been great. If there's one area that the White Sox need to improve in, it is their bullpen. Other than Michael Kopech and Garrett Crochet, no other reliever in that bullpen has an ERA under 3. While the White Sox would love to make a big splash and bring in Craig Kimbrell, I don't see the North and South Siders connecting on a trade. So I think that the White Sox should take a look at Pittsburgh Pirates closer Richard Rodriguez. Rodriguez has been closing for the Pirates this year. He has a 2.65 ERA, which is basically in line with what he's done over the past 4 seasons. So far this year, he's converted on all but 2 save opportunities, including this weekend against the New York Mets. The one area of concern for Rodriguez, he is not striking out as many guys as he has in the past. Just 22% K rate this year compared to 36% in 2020. And lastly, the 2 Moneyball teams, the Oakland Athletics and Tampa Bay Rays, find themselves in a wild card matchup. So I'm going to operate within their budget. We know neither of these teams are very keen on spending a lot of money. So let's see if we can find some under the radar moves that can help improve their playoff hopes. The A's have a lot of positions that they could use some help at, especially at shortstop. They have the 2nd lowest OPS in all of baseball. They also could use some help in the outfield, so I think they should reunite with former A Robbie Grossman. Grossman's not having a tremendous season by any means, but in the words of Billy Beane, he gets on base. He has a .353 on base percentage for the Tigers this year, and he would no doubt help shore up the outfield that the Athletics just haven't been getting a lot of production from. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays have lost both Tyler Glasnow and Luis Patino to injury, so I think they need to go out and improve their starting rotation. So who else is left? I think they should take a look at Colorado Rockies starter Jon Gray. Gray's having a good year for the Rockies. He has a 3.68 ERA and a 1.26 ERA plus, and he's playing out the last year of his rookie contract, so he's just a rental, which kind of goes against the Rays' philosophy. But you know what doesn't? His minuscule contract. Gray is earning just $6 million this year, so prorated for the remainder of this season, the Rays would be paying Gray under $3 million to come in and stabilize their rotation. And there you guys have it. That is one big trade for each of the MLB playoff teams. What do you guys think? Do you like the trade that I made for your team, or do you dislike it? And if you dislike it, tell me why in the comment section below. And also, stay tuned for my upcoming video, worst trade deadline deals in Major League Baseball history.